Keep off the moors. Stick to the roads. The best of luck.
Thanks for the ride, sir. You have lovely sheep. Northern England first, Italy later. Right. Did you hear that? It's circling us. Sounds far away. Not far enough. Come on.
I'm a werewolf.
Stay on the road. Keep clear to the moors.
Remember, be sexy.
From Boston University Center for Digital Imaging, this is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
And we're happy to have back Brett Michel. Brett's a film critic with the Boston Phoenix and the Boston Herald.
Yes, indeed.
And today what we thought we'd do is take a look back at the history of werewolf films, because, as most of you know, there's a big werewolf movie on the horizon next week, Wolfman, directed by Joe Johnston and starring Benicio del Toro. So this is a universal property that they've been trying to get off the ground for quite some time, and we thought we'd go back further and, revisit the first film and some of the other werewolf movies over the past many years that we've enjoyed. So we picked out a few.
Well, and John, it's funny when you go back, just how many werewolf movies there are, and just how bad some of them are.
Tons.
And some of them you have fond memories.
Tons bad.
Yeah, you have fond memories, like The Howling is one I had a fond memory of. I remember seeing that in theaters when I was younger and just loving it. And so I watched it and I was like, this is really awful. And it wasn't just that the story was okay, but it was every werewolf movie has that transformation scene. And in the earlier ones, it's all that stop motion photography, where you can almost see where they've pinned the guy's jacket to the ground, so he can go back after they apply another layer of hair.
Yeah.
And it's like just little shifts in his head, or they'll show his hands get hairy or his fingernails grow.
The Lon Chaney picture was just it was dissolves.
Yeah.
The transition.
Yeah.
But then, when you get up to American Werewolf in London, or in, which I guess won an Oscar?
Yeah, it did. 1981 was the transition year for werewolf transformations.
And it was definitely when latex was king, because...
Well, there was a whole makeup controversy back during that era, too.
What for?
There was a big debate going on about whether that should be considered makeup. Because that was during the dawn of certain animatronic
special effects makeup and regular makeup. In other words, like
instead of making someone look really old, or
make Sybil Shepherd look more presentable, but this is something entirely different.
Just more presentable.
Yeah, when there was a big
she
debate
needed it.
Whether...
She needed it. When I was working on films, it even got so far as to, like, when you see her shots of her in Moonlighting, the makeup didn't really work for her. So they had what a couple of cinematographers I used to work for called the Sybil Shepherd lens, which is basically this fog cap you put over the front of the lens that just eliminates all wrinkles.
It's the Baba Wawa can.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's the Sybil Shepherd.
But she never made a werewolf movie, so it's...
No.
That we know of.
Interesting, though.
That we know of.
She made some howlers.
Wow. Edit that out. All right, so Steve, when you were going back through the history of werewolf movies, which was your favorite of all the old...
without question, The Howling. That was the... it was the pinnacle moment. I considered it absolute to me. But it hit me at this time when I was 15 years old, 14,
you're not
15
anymore, Steve.
No.
So you went back,
that was
it still held up?
It was just tops.
Still,
really?
That scene where Robert Picardo transforms in the cabin. Oh, just the best. I loved it so much. I can't even,
Which scene is that? Was he Eddie Benny or Eddie?
Quickly, the story is Robert Picardo plays Eddie, who's a serial killer. Mm-hmm. And Dee Wallace is a...
You've ruined it!
Well, he's revealed that he's a serial killer at the beginning, And Dee Wallace plays a news reporter who is... she plays a news reporter who's sent on a story that will, in turn, capture this serial killer. So she goes to a porn shop. She's...
P-O-R-N.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, she's basically meeting the guy that they suspect, and yada yada yada. He's caught. Basically, she's traumatized by it. Needs to take a leave from work. She's encouraged to go to a place called I think the camp in Northern California. Her psychologist is what's his name?
from the Avengers. Patrick McNee.
Patrick McNee. It turns out that this camp is located near a den of werewolves, or most of the people in the camp are werewolves, and Eddie is one of them. We think that Robert Picardo had died early on, but he escapes from the morgue, which is I think a terrific scene. This has a cameo from John Sayles as the morgue guy when they open up the thing and
Did Sayles write it?
He did.
Yeah,
he did.
He
makes more like this.
He loves making a paycheck writing stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
He's got to fund his own movies.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
So she is sort of slowly brought into this commune of werewolves, and one of her newscast buddies, slowly realizes that this is what it is. He's, the course of characters slowly getting all the hints. He buys silver bullets from Dick Miller at the bookstore, rushes up to the place, meets Eddie.
Wait a minute. Joe Dante didn't direct that movie, did he?
Yes, he did.
And Dick Miller's in it?
And Dick Miller's in it. He plays the metaphysical bookstore owner, which also has a couple of cameos in that. No, Forrest J. Ackerman is in the bookstore in that particular scene.
Forrest Ackerman.
Famous Monsters of Filmland publisher, Forrest J. Ackerman.
Wow.
The Ackerman.
Wow, that's something that most people aren't going to get. I'm just going to go out on a limb there.
Well, so the scene of scenes is when, I forget the guy's name, but he's actually a famous, well, not really famous in terms of Adam Sandler because he's directing his movies.
He's not a famous monster of Filmland.
Right.
Dennis Dugan, the director of Problem Child, Don't Mess with the Zohan, and now pronounce you Chuck and Larry. And the classic, Benchwarmers. Good God. He corners Eddie in one of the offices at the commune, and it results in this. I was just so scared by this when I was a kid. It's the scene where Eddie first transforms. The first transformation you see of the werewolf, where he's, sort of begging the other guy to shoot him while he's transforming. Well, actually, it's done in two parts. I'm over-explaining this, but it's a terrific transformation. No. Rick Baker.
Well, that's...
It was Robert Picardo, man. I was scared seeing that transform.
You were scared when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah.
And you saw it again recently?
Yeah.
And did you have flashbacks of being scared as a kid, or was it just you...
There's a moment... you see Robert Picardo do it twice, and it's the second time when he's transforming in front of Dennis Dugan, where he's begging him to shoot him.
Right.
This is where Eddie doesn't know that Dennis Dugan's character has silver bullets, and he takes the shot. And it works. But the second time he transformed was still pretty freaky. As
a little aside to this, I remember, it's always funny when you see movies that scare you as a little kid or as a young kid, and you see them again. If you're still like The Exorcist, I saw when it came out, and when they re-released it to theaters, the extended version, I got nervous walking in. Just because of flashbacks of fear. And there's this movie called Don't Look in the Basement, and I'm not saying you should rent it or see it or anything, but it's this cheap horror movie that takes place in a mental institution. And I found it in a cutout bin for like $5.
Oh, horror is cheap.
Right. I found it in a cutout bin for $5. I was like, I remember this movie. I brought it home, put it in the machine. It started. I got maybe 2 minutes into it. I was like, fuck, I'm not watching this.
Really?
And I was like terrified all over again from seeing it as a kid. But I didn't have the same feelings, obviously, as you did with The Howling. I watched it again, and all I could see was the rubber, the rubber face. It's like the transformation is really just, they've got latex on his face, and you can almost see the guy pumping the hand pump off camera to make the face bulge out, bubbles, and... Yeah,
but there's something to that. Apart from the CGI, it's actually, I think, more effective than the CGI. It's the grotesqueness of it is...
I think Rick Baker's transformation work he did in American Werewolf is superior.
Oh, yeah.
Does it still hold up?
They did. Well, Rick Baker had been the guy who was hired by Joe Dante to do The Howling. And I think they had gone a couple weeks into the production, and he got a call from John Landis saying, wait a second, I told you I was making my movie, and we're really going to make it, and you promised me you'd do this.
Both of those pictures were released in '81.
Yeah. Werewolf a couple months after.
Actually, I think The Howling came out in the spring, and then Werewolf came out in late summer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, Steve, as a Howling fan, how far along did you follow the remakes, because I found up to number 7, The Howling 7.
Oh, that was it.
I watched Howling 3, The Marsupials, which takes place in Australia, hence the name, I guess, and it's awful. It's awful. In fact, that was the thing about this, you know.
Howling 3?
Howling 3,
Awful.
The Marsupials.
I think I saw Howling 2 in theaters, but
4, 5, and 6
nothing
seem to
after
be
that
missing. 7
interests me.
Yeah.
It was just The Howling. It was. I remember seeing that in. I think it was the Great Lakes Naval Base, the theater across from Great Lakes Naval Base, and it was. There were sailors and everything in there. It was like a 10 p.m. screening. It was great. It was freaky.
Well, one of the things that I found doing this assignment and looking up old werewolf movies, and I mentioned before, was just how bad some of these things are. And these aren't worth big descriptions at all. But Werewolves on Wheels, it's a biker movie. The movie lasts 79 minutes. You don't see a werewolf until 65 minutes have gone by. You see just bikers riding through the desert, beating up on the locals. They beat up on some monks who somehow transform them into werewolves. There is the last 10 minutes.
Transform the bikers.
Right, with some ritual involving blood, fireworks, and naked women.
Okay.
Which is going to be the title of my biography, I think. But anyway, the last 10 minutes are kind of fun because there's werewolves riding motorcycles. But you know, it's not worth renting.
They're not on roller skates?
No, that would be funny.
Well, there's an idea for the next show.
Even though werewolves is not in the title, I saw Frankenstein's Bloody Terror. This is a badly dubbed Spanish movie from the 70s where werewolves are being kept prisoners by vampires. Frankenstein's not even in it. Sounds like they were going to make a Frankenstein movie, couldn't get the budget and change it to Wolfstein because the lead character is Wolfstein. Just awful stuff.
And wait a second.
Yeah.
So it's not about the Bride of Frankenstein at that time of the month?
No.
That's Frankenstein's Bloody Terror.
Hey, see what I've saved you? The one good thing I found is a movie called The Werewolf from 1956. It's a black and white movie about a guy who stumbles into a small town with no memory of how he got there, who he is, or anything. We find out later he was in a car accident, and the doctors they took him to didn't just help him, they experimented on him and turned him into a werewolf. It's all about how the small town gets together and protects the guy and saves him.
Also, it's interesting that
Werewolves on them?
No.
this was made in '56. So
Yeah.
It was at the height of the, Red Scare, nuclear bomb kind of stuff. So one of the I did see most of the movie. I didn't see all of it. But one of the things that got me was why injects. Okay, how the werewolf serum relates to trying to cure someone from radiation. They never completely explained.
It wasn't even for curing them. These doctors were convinced that they could create a super race that would survive nuclear war, and that's the serum they had was, to create a super race, and they'd be the only ones who, survived nuclear war. But when they tried it on this guy, it turned him into a werewolf instead.
Wouldn't they change him into like cockroach men?
I guess.
That would make
As
more sense.
No budget,
as movies go, this wasn't so bad. It was Columbia's first werewolf movie, and it seemed to have a pretty good budget. It looked pretty good,
One of the things that I noticed is that, like, when you're dealing with vampires, besides Twilight, there are certain rules. Whether it's, and everyone messes with them. It could be garlic. They can't stand garlic, crosses. It can't go out in sunlight. Again, Twilight. And even the werewolves in Twilight are their own different thing.
Yeah, these things get played around with differently in each.
But the werewolf agendas, are just so over the map.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
As in what makes a werewolf, what kills them. Yeah, silver bullets. But in Frankenstein's Bloody Terror, it has to be a silver bullet shot by someone who loves the werewolf and is willing to die for them. Hence, there's a love story, and the girl has to shoot the.
Nicholas Sparks, right? That.
Yeah.
Which, sort of getting back to the original 1941 version with Lon Chaney, it's a curse.
Right.
You killed the wolf.
Well, there's no crime in that, is there?
The wolf was Bela.
You think I don't know the difference between a wolf and a man?
Bela became a wolf, and you killed him. A werewolf can be killed only with a silver bullet, or a silver knife, or a stick with a silver handle.
You're insane. I tell you, I killed a wolf, a plain, ordinary wolf.
Take this charm, the pentagram, the sign of the wolf. It can break the evil spell.
Evil spell. Pentagram, wolfbane. Oh, I'm sick of the whole thing. I'm gonna get out of here.
Whoever is bitten by a werewolf and lives becomes a werewolf himself.
Oh, quit handing me that. You're just wasting your time.
The wolf bit you, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Wear this charm over your heart always. Go now, and heaven help you.
You know, in 1956, it's a
Serum.
Serum. In The Howling, it's
I think
it's like vampirism in blood. You know, you're bitten, you catch it. Like
Yeah.
a disease. So there's various things. There's a scene in The Howling where Dick Miller goes over what the rules are for this movie and what the specifics are. In other words, there were some things that really didn't work, but the one thing that always does the trick, silver.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the constant.
So
according to Dick Miller and John Sayles, who wrote it.
So what are your thoughts on this new one? I mean, here we are. We've gone through 50 years of werewolf movies.
Well, I'm looking forward to it in the sense that I like the idea that what Universal did with Van Helsing was they featured a wolfman, but it was a version of a wolfman who became a four-legged wolf.
Right.
So you're basically going man-wolf, and how the transformation happened was that the transformation comes from inside. The man completely transforms into a wolf. But the original wolf man is just that. He's a man that grows hair, has fangs. He doesn't have a muzzle, like they do in American Werewolf in London and The Howling. This is more. This is more Wolfman, and I keep thinking back to what if they had cast Zoolander? Wolfman, Papa, Wolfman.
I don't know what to say to that.
Mermaid.
Yeah, but
Yeah, so they're going to the. This is the kind of pressing the reset button, as opposed to what
it's
like an American Werewolf in London.
It's not just
that was a
creative
full,
bankruptcy.
Could be. Well, what
And
it
it
really
is,
is Universal trying to rebuild a property.
Well, it's another budget
classic
production, obviously, though. Since they cast Benicio del Toro, he doesn't require any makeup to be the Wolfman.
Stop shaving.
That's right.
Well,
Wolfman.
I've heard good and bad things about it. But I'm looking forward to it.
Do you know anyone who's seen it yet?
No, I don't. But
so how have you heard anything good or bad?
what was it that? So you were interviewing? Okay. We know some things, but we're going to edit that part out. You're going to have to do us a favor there.
I think it's just I'd go see a movie like this anyway.
Yeah, me too.
Wolf. We've all seen The Wolfman, The Mummies. We've seen Robert De Niro as Frankenstein, Frank Langella as Dracula.
Boy, De Niro, that was unforgettable,
wasn't it? Yeah.
I did see one this week I really liked, Dog Soldiers, and I'd owned it. I'd owned it for quite some time. It's been sitting on my shelf. Didn't watch it all the way through until a couple days ago. Digged it, but it suffers from this extreme over-intensity that, what's his name, Neil Marshall, kind of perfected in Doomsday. Where everybody's like, yeah, giving each other, barking at each other with orders and
barking
and edicts and rules and commands, and it's like, yeah, whatever, get on to the werewolf stuff. But it actually has a.
Well, you need to tell people what the movie is about after that.
It's about a bunch of British Marines who were sent on a training exercise in, I guess, northern Scotland, and they are basically attacked by werewolves. Set up to.
Come on, Steve! It's a veritable remake of Night of the Living Dead with werewolves instead of.
I hadn't seen it that way, but now you mention
it's a house
it,
under siege.
Okay, I can.
The classic.
Yeah, so they hole up in this house where some shit goes down, and you basically got the werewolves busting in right and left, and it's machine guns versus werewolves, but unfortunately none of these bullets in the machine guns have silver in them, so.
Yeah, it's entertaining. It's just
they kill and regenerate.
Yeah, it's loud and
it was entertaining. It got a bit noisy, with all the screaming and whatever, and that's the part of Neil Marshall's stuff.
What else is he did? The Descent too, right?
The Descent, which I dig. I think that's his best film. That really did have a sense of claustrophobia that was really sort of unsettling. It was good.
And Brett, what are you looking? Are you looking forward to the new Wolfman? And if so, why or why not? Or
I'm looking forward to getting it over with. Yeah. I have a wait and see outlook on this one.
Yeah.
Is there anything about this that could possibly impress you?
I'd like to see Anthony Hopkins get killed brutally.
Yeah, they may take some liberties from the original script, I suppose. I mean, if we're as familiar as many Wolfman fans are with the original,
they would never take liberties with.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do something, dude.
That's blasphemy.
And Emily Blunt's the lead lady in it. Wolfman's love
got her
interest
name here somewhere.
The Wolf Lady.
Wolf Lady. Yeah.
The Evelyn Akers character, I believe.
Actually, what's the era the film is set in?
It looks Victorian.
She would be the Wolf Miss.
The original Wolfman is from 1941, and I think it took place like at that time. But this one they moved back to Sherlock Holmes' time, so it's in the same sort of
crossover
late
potential
1890s,
there.
London.
Huh?
Yeah, Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, didn't Sherlock Holmes have a werewolf at some point?
He
possibly?
solved all the great
Well, there's the
crimes.
hounds of the Baskervilles.
probably
Fought
moved it back
werewolves.
into the-
Everyone, Scooby-Doo's fought werewolves. Teenagers have fought werewolves. What was it, Monster Squad?
Yeah, I was looking at that
Monster
on the shelf
Squad
the other day,
had a
thinking,
werewolf.
should I?
Hey, but do you remember? You
Monster
remember the summer of it was Back to the Future? Michael J. Fox was so hot,
Oh yeah, we were talking about that.
and
last
then
week.
all of a sudden they bring out Teen Wolf. What a piece of garbage that was.
Made so much money.
Well,
it was a big success.
Again, it led to the even worse sequel, Teen Wolf 2, with Jason Bateman.
Was there a Teen Wolf 3?
Oh, I don't know.
Teen Wolf.
Also saw Skinwalkers.
Yeah, I
Which had
think
a
that
new
was
twist on the werewolf theme.
in the
where
porn
it was,
version.
There's this boy who, at the age of 13, if
I
he
don't
lives
wanna see
until the
that.
age of 13, the werewolves will be cured of their affliction. So there's a certain pack of wolves that are trying to kill this kid. There's a certain sect that are trying to protect him. So it's like,
What's the rationale behind the whole 13 years?
the reason.
Puberty.
You know what? I don't. There is. It would give away the end of the movie as to
Oh, don't do that.
That's
Well,
never
that's,
stopped
a
you
lot
on
of
the
these,
show before.
a lot of these movies have that Native American legend part. If they can't come up with the curse or, some kind of medical experiment going bad, there's always a Native American
There is that
transformation, legend of the walking of a wolf and a man joining together. So
there's also, and they go over this in the original and other, Wolfman movies, the whole psychological aspect of it. In other words, the myth is based on certain elements of reality where in the past people actually believed that they were werewolves. So it was, in Lon Chaney's version of the werewolf, it was psychological, like he would see it when he looked in the mirror. I think that was in a later film, but there's the whole psychological aspect, and I think they're going to deal with that in the upcoming Wolfman. In other words, Benicio del Toro's character is going to be
I'm sure the picture's going to be very, very deep psychologically. It's going to be a probing drama.
It's like Bergman's Wolfman.
Yes.
It's going to be all, still shots of clocks ticking, and then.
Joe Johnston.
What else has he done? He's the director of this. So what else is he of the new Wolfman? What else has he done?
Jumanji?
Yeah, he got a start at ILM.
Star Wars guy.
He was a
model maker on Star Wars.
Yeah, well, he was a great illustrator back in the early days.
Yeah, he did the original Star Wars designs. He must be famous for that. And then Jumanji.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Did he do that?
Oh yeah.
Wow. He's kind of like a
pictures.
He's I want to say like an industrial director. He'll get the job done. He's made good films. He hasn't.
That's a nice way of saying he doesn't have his own style, right?
I wouldn't say he's an auteur. He's a guy that works in the business of movies and gets them done on time.
Actually, he directed The Rocketeer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, good call. That was one of my.
So it sounds like he's stepping out of his comfort zone a little because it's not little kids and family. This doesn't sound like a family-friendly.
It's still an effects picture, though.
Yeah.
Did it get an R rating?
I think so. I think So
I was surprised that some of these werewolf movies were PG, like Skinwalkers.
Actually, you know, they should have cast Robin Williams as the Wolfman.
Oh, God. I'm sure at some point in his career he's played a wolf something.
Every time he gets naked in one of these movies, he's... Blah! Wolfman.
Well, I want to say, though, the worst of the werewolf movies I saw this week, American Werewolf in Paris. That was just...
Oh, come on.
Abysmal.
How can that be the worst?
And it wasn't entertainingly bad. It was just bad.
Yeah.
Is it as bad as From Paris with Love?
Well, I guess there's a transition there. From Paris with Love, better. There's so many other movies that are much better than American Werewolf in Paris. Holy good God.
And that was
what a travesty.
Julie
Delpy, and who was the kid?
Got the info here.
My heart beating.
Oh, for Julie Delpy.
You get it.
Yeah, she's...
Hubba hubba.
Yeah, I can't find
Scott. It's the kid that was in That Thing You Do, and he's in Southland now.
Tom Everett Scott?
That's
Tom Everett
it.
Scott.
That's it.
Very good. I don't know, pick that up.
And is the story just about the same, you know? Is he backpacking through the moors of France and gets bit?
Yeah, you know, student... basically what they're doing at the beginning of this movie is they've sneaked into the Eiffel Tower and climbed to the top of it, and they're going to bungee jump off the Eiffel Tower.
Right.
And they find Julie Delpy standing. How do you pronounce her name? Yeah. Delpy. Standing on the ledge, going to commit suicide, and just as she jumps, they jump, and he saves her on their bungee jump thing. And
sounds exciting.
Yeah, she basically runs away from him, but he's more persistent, wants to find out what was psychologically wrong with her. He ends up going to the house, finding out more about werewolves, and then... There's only one scene in the movie that I thought was good.
He has the best sex of his life, though, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, there's only one scene. It's the morning after, I think, where they're talking in bed, and he hears her mother's voice in the bedroom, and then it just occurred to me, wait a second, her mother's dead, but we're hearing her voice. And so basically what this does is the same turn on the werewolf myth that American Werewolf in London does, was that when you are killed by a werewolf, you don't actually go to heaven until that werewolf is killed. So you, as a ghost, their victims basically haunt the person who is the werewolf. They're always with them, and this is which sort of provides the comedic elements in American Werewolf in London.
And Griffin Dunne showing up in different as he rots.
Griffin Dunne, best part about American Werewolf in London is him being amusing and delivering the lines the way he does with Rick Baker's makeup, which was pretty
progressively grosser.
Yeah, it's just American Werewolf in London. I mean, in Paris, nothing like London, but it's Griffin Dunne's performance that really does. And Michael, Naughton, and of course, oh God, what's her name from Logan's Run? Jenny Agutter. Every werewolf movie should have Jenny Agutter.
Yeah, and you really can't mix werewolves with frogs.
There's a suicide bomber inside the embassy.
We've got you working with our top operative, Charlie Wax.
Till death do us part.
The risk has never been greater.
What do you think this is about? It's about terrorists!
But our last line of defense is also our best.
That's how I do things.
Wax's methods aren't exactly regulation.
You got a problem with that?
Nope.
I think American Werewolf in Paris is a good transition to get into our review of From Paris with Love.
There's only so much beating this movie can take.
From the director of District 13, which I digged.
Yeah.
Which I really digged. But now Luc Besson has this machine going where he's producing these movies, he's starting with The Transporter and then the District 13 and the taxi movies.
It's not that. I mean, District was Banlieue 13, which they inexplicably called District B13, which district. Don't get me started on that. But anyway, but with that, the parkour stuff they were doing, you could physically see what was happening. It was presented in such a way where you could see the geography of the action.
Completely formulaic. But they have it down to a science. Luc Besson has this down to a science.
No, there's a formula. But what I'm saying is the action choreography in that film, you can tell exactly what these people are doing, and the actors in that film are
doing
glorified stuntmen, and they're doing it.
Right.
When you have John Travolta in this film, or even Liam Neeson in Taken, his director's last film, these guys...
John Travolta and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers are no Sir Raffaelli and David Bell.
No, and it's cut in such a way where there's a point in this movie when the action first starts, the camera started shaking like mad. And
they were so excited. Here it goes. It's going to start.
It was like, that's up. Well, there's the action cue, because you're not going to be able to see Travolta actually doing any stunt works, because the guy's got a gut on him.
When the cameraman starts laughing.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's better than yelling action. Brett, why don't you tell people what this movie's about?
I couldn't tell you what this movie's about. They start with a plot where they're going after a drug lord, and it becomes this whole other thing with terrorists, and there's... I can't explain it, and I'm going to have to in a review I have to write tonight. I'm at a loss.
Steve, any luck on this? The basic plot.
Jonathan Rhys-Meyers plays a U.S., not a dignitary, an assistant.
But it's Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, who is Irish. He's kind of doing a southern accent in this movie, because he's supposed to be an American, which you know because he's wearing a U.S. flag on his... a little lapel pin.
He must have his accent on. He's got the pin.
Yeah, that's how we got the pin.
So he's like this wannabe spy. So he's got this sort of double life where he's...
well, who's his handler on the phone?
Who knows?
They never even bother trying.
So he's got his... he gets his secret phone calls so he can plant... bugs in certain people's offices and stuff like that. But he wants to take it to the next step.
And he's a chess master.
And he's a chess master. And he's been in Paris for a while. He now has a relationship with this girl who's now his fiancée. And but in order to take his career to the next step, he has to accomplish this one mission. The guy on the phone says something to the effect, if you just do this now, you'll be running with the big boys.
So just do whatever Charlie Wax tells you.
All right, so... where were we?
You were telling my friend what fabric you and my fiancé were picking up when I saw you.
Well, I'm not really in the clothing business. I'm actually in the cloak and dagger division of the embassy, like my boy here.
Mostly cloak. Mostly dagger.
You killed anyone today?
Well, let's see, about, one an hour on average, I'd say.
And what type of people did you kill today, James?
Tell me how you saved the day.
I helped.
Did you at least catch them all?
Not sure, but find out soon enough. All right.
Let's party. Let's party, yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
John Travolta comes to town.
Charlie Wax.
In a
that's a name.
In a interrogation scene of sorts that's amusing, but he's not. He decides he's not going to get.
Is it amusing?
It's
I thought
stupid.
The
but he
first
doesn't
time
want to. Go ahead.
The first time Travolta comes on and he starts chewing the scenery, I'm going with it. But then it just never ends. It's the same shtick throughout.
Well, at least it just started like the profanities coming out of this motherfucker, this motherfucker, that, again and again.
Like I said, for the first, you giggle. At least I giggled first few minutes. But then it's like there's nothing else here. It's just he keeps pumping out this bilge for dialogue.
Yeah, he's just a very shallow guy who just lives for the complete idiocy of blood and guts and can seemingly walk unaffected in a shower of bullets. Just always living on the edge and surviving and not caring.
Reese, police car, get in.
Wait, stop. I gotta get my stuff.
They knew we were coming. I'm sure it's stripped by now.
Look, my prints are all over that car. The cops will trace it back to the embassy and to me in no time.
Okay, let me get my head around this. You want to stop in the middle of our getaway so you can grab your plates, wipe your prints, and grab some files.
I'll be quick.
All right, quicker than this?
for you.
And what
That's his
about
base
that hipster dialogue, like wax on, wax off? I don't even know what that means.
You've seen
he's in
Karate Kid, right?
Yeah, I've seen it, but what did that have to do?
Yeah, his
but
explanation.
Once they bring in the Royale with cheese, which just made me feel bad that Travolta was even willing to
pour it up that much?
Yeah.
It's just a pop culture reference that's designed to endear
self-serving.
us, to the,
well, the whole
to the
thing
character.
It kind of angered me more than anything.
Well, the thing, I just thought the movie was so ridiculous. I love action movies, and this action is just so ridiculous. It's mainly Travolta. And Travolta's stuntman, who really does the bulk of the work. And it's one of those
stuntmen.
And it's one of those movies where you can tell when the stuntman is in, because he's in shape and he's a little taller and he moves. Travolta just kind of stands there.
Although they're both bald.
Yeah.
Travolta's got his new look in this film. He's the shaved head with the goatee, which he says he's now thinking he's going to keep this look, because he was never actually bald before.
He doesn't have to worry about anybody thinking he's got a receding hairline now.
Well, he's been wearing hair pieces for years. Did you see the Oscars last year?
No.
He showed up. I think he had used a Sharpie to draw on his hair. I was watching that in HD on my TV.
It's the bald version of The Taking of Pelham.
Yeah, so now he says he's going to continue to shave his head.
He's going to keep the goatee.
Yeah, because
his character is so shallow and there's just so little development. It's like he's an example of the refinement of an action character in the sense that there's just nothing there. He's just a guy going through the motions, and he says funny stuff, and there's some amusing things that happen. But we don't know. The only thing we know about this guy is that Jonathan Rhys-Meyers says, character, whatever his name is, says, you don't have anybody. So we don't have to know anything about him. He's the loner. John Travolta, the loner.
Did you guys happen to notice too? I mean, there's still in the U.S. there's sort of the sentiment towards the French is still it's kind of negative.
No.
Right. So in this movie, you've got one of the opening scenes. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers he's an aide to a senator.
Yeah.
Who he had a line of dialogue at the beginning that was. Let's see, I have it in my notes here. I think he basically just said, I love the French.
Yeah.
And Travolta says the same damn line when he shows up. I really love the French.
Yeah, but it's always after having sex, or the lines like, oh, who's that guy? Which secretary is he sleeping with?
But
both.
Oh,
I love the French.
This is a movie that's written by a Frenchman and directed by a Frenchman with quote unquote American characters who are one of them's not even played by.
And they love the French. They love the Americans. They hate people of color. Everyone who dies in this movie is either brown or tan.
But it was the same way in Taken, which I thought was offensive as hell watching.
Right. I had to look up jingoism just to get it right for the review.
Middle Eastern is really taken in this movie, especially the Chinese restaurant scene.
I'm still puzzled
it's
how
basically an exercise in how to film a shootout with tons of bullets.
But how was Travolta able to dodge so many bullets in the film with his gut?
It's just.
I think it's the magic scarf he wears.
And I mean, he's on a diet of the Royale with cheese.
Right.
It's just
and
he's
dressed in the bulkiest clothes to hide the bulk.
Everything is editing, and that's actually a big difference between how I think they film. Bandu 13
and
point. District 13 Ultimatum.
Because in that, you have people actually doing the physical activity.
That you can film these guys in extended shots, but to get Travolta or Denzel Washington in Book of Eli to do these things, you have a number of edits that's going to have to go in there to make this convincing.
They have the big, well, they have the big shootout.
Or at least as far as the filmmakers think it's convincing.
They have the big shootout at the Chinese, the first shootout at the Chinese restaurant. Okay, fine. Shit's just blowing up, getting shot at. Travolta's running around, not getting hit. Kills all the bad guys with one shot. Fine. I can almost handle that. But then he goes out and there's like a street gang of Asian kids that, he walks up to and just beats them all up in the worst, the most poorly choreographed fight scene I've seen since wrestling. Pro wrestling's more convincing.
I couldn't tell you who's doing what and what.
Well, it's so unsubstantiated. I mean, how they never explain how James, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers' character, is able to just nail people, shot, for a guy who's never really handled a gun before.
But he can't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Or he can, but he sort of has to prove him. There's this stupid thing going on where John, he wants to be liked by Charlie, so he wants to develop more of a badass demeanor, and the more he gets. So in reality, something of badass. This is something Charlie really appreciates. Like all action stops when James is just for the hell of it going into somebody's apartment and he's going to beat on this guy to get his phone charger, and that's what Charlie likes. So he just stops everything and is like, yeah, motherfucker.
Yeah, boy.
So it's just about pile on the punches,
Because there's no story, there's no character, there's anything else going on.
But I think Luc Besson, in his time in the 80s, was terrific. And he made some beautiful stuff.
When he was directing.
The Big Blue.
But now he's just, he's just a, producer on this?
Just a producer. But this is far and away from something like, the Fifth Element, which was cool and stylish. But what he's done here is he's too much focusing on the technique, the technology of the process of making an action film. And he's made a ton of them. And it's just kind of...
But this isn't his
process
film.
now.
I mean, it's not even his script.
It's from the guy who did Taken.
He gets the story credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about we make a movie with John Travolta as a spy?
Yeah,
I'll take the credit.
That's it.
Yeah. And then leave it
we'll
to some,
it for an international market.
Except for people in Asia and the Middle East who just don't want to be, awful stereotypes.
Yeah, well, the movie does have those. It's pretty overt there. But as far as the technique of filming some action scenes, I think he uses the stairwell again, like he did, the way he did in...
Okay, I like that scene.
The stairwell scene was pretty funny, the way the guys were falling down. And, when somebody falls down a stairwell, it's not just a fall, it's a pretty hurtful fall. And so he's done this before in a couple of films.
Violence is funny.
He did it in... the first District 13, the second, and now this kind of like. But what my point is what he's trying to do is Luc Besson is. I think he's in the next year or two, maybe a couple of years. He's going to try to produce a big summer action film, a film that was produced in Paris for all the tax breaks that he gets for making a movie there.
I kind of presume
he's going to move up to making a big summer action film.
You think? Because I think I kind of think he'll die of an overdose within that time.
Probably.
Period.
Yeah, I think you can only whore up so much before you can expand it to anything bigger.
That's right.
And have you seen him? Because he's been expanding.
Oh, I didn't know he was living the good life. Him and Travolta.
Yeah. Maybe they can shave their heads together.
All right, so I think basically what we want to do is tell people not to waste their time or money on this.
It's just a process. It's a filmmaking process, courtesy of Luc Besson.
Oh, it was a process sitting through it. I'll tell you that.
Would you guys pay $10 to see this?
No.
I think I'd have paid to see a matinee. You can grill me on it? I think I would. I would have been, had not, just taking it on its face value, I'd have been like, hey, cool.
I would like them to pay me to see it. That would be a good deal, I think. Luc Besson, pay me.
What was the last, I'm just going to ask you this out of the blue breath. So, okay, which Luc Besson films do you appreciate? And I respect your opinion, because you have a very...
I am not what you would call a Besson
Bessonite?
Yeah. He had gotten a Lifetime Achievement Award from a film festival in Florida not too long ago, and I thought that was an embarrassment. He in no way, shape, or form should be getting any kind of Lifetime Achievement.
He may still be riding on his success in the 80s, and I think that's my favorite. Yeah,
The Professional?
Stuff that he's done. I really dig The Professional.
He did, and I have a hard time trying to even defend that film, other than the fact that it was probably Natalie Portman's one good performance.
What else has he done? You started
Big Blue, Subway.
No, I didn't like that. I didn't like that. Keep going. Fifth Element.
The Fifth
Element.
I liked. I think the last film. Did he direct Arthur and the Incredibles?
For what?
I think it was a couple years ago. Arthur and the Incredibles.
That animated thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Something in the Incredibles, or the Invincibles, or the.
Okay, he has nothing. I can tell you, he has nothing to do with the Incredibles. The Brad Bird.
I'm getting the title.
No. I know what you mean. It's that movie. It had Snoop Dogg.
No. It's
and Madonna
It's Arthur and the Invisibles, or Arthur and the Minimoys is the French title. Right. He's still actually making those movies. His last directing credit was he did do Angela, which I thought was a travesty.
He did what?
Angela.
Angela?
Sure.
Yeah.
Or Angela.
I saw that. I own that.
I really like
it was given to me, I swear.
It's a remake of.
Not Wings of Desire.
No. Let's go to a
Night of the Living Dead.
Classic. It's a Wonderful Life.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It was a remake of It's a Wonderful Life with a pimp and a prostitute.
On that note,
which is how Jimmy Stewart played it. Go ahead.
So that wraps it up for this week. In this week's episode, we discussed all things werewolves and are anticipating the release, at least I am, I don't know about Brett, of the werewolf, the Wolfman next week. And we reviewed From Paris with Love, the new Travolta flick produced by Luc Besson. So be sure to check out the website at postmovie.wordpress.com. And if you have any comments about the show, we'd love to hear from you. Any feedback is great. We're at postmoviepodcast@gmail.com.
I have a few comments.
Mm-hmm.
But
we'd like to hear
email them. Email them to us.
I will. I'll send those right in.
Until next week. Adios.
Ciao.